And good evening, everybody. Aloha.
Welcome to the interview room, and thanks for being here on our Monday Night Live.
Man, we're so grateful to each and every one of you, and we got a great show ahead of you. Tell us where you're at. Everybody jump into the chat here and tell us where you're living, or at least hanging out.
Chris has his groove on tonight.
I do. Denver's in the house. Lost Wages. St. Augustine, Ohio. Mississippi, Spain. Branson, Missouri. La Mesa. Tennessee, Louisiana. Wow, this is flying. Aloha. Woohoo.
And while you're doing that, I just want to remember to thank our mods. They are very hardworking ladies, and they do an incredible job of keeping our chat classy. So we want to be sure to thank Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Teresa M., and of course, Laura Waldy.
Absolutely. Without them, we can't do any of this, can we?
We can't. And we're just so grateful to them and all that they do for us.
Most definitely. Man, everybody is here tonight. Pittsburgh's in the house. Atlanta's in the house. Wow, this is flying. Scotland's in the house. Oklahoma's in the house. Wow, thank you so much, you guys. Hit that like, subscribe, and that thumbs up button and that bell. Man, that would really help us out, and that's the only thing we ask for. That's the only thing that Karen and I, we appreciate. We're almost at 275. We're trying to hit 300,000, and I know we can do it. We can most definitely do it. With your help, guarantee you we can do it. Thank you from Detroit. Thank you from Ohio. Thank you from California, Wyoming, Indiana, Texas. Everybody's in the house tonight. Thank you for being with us on this Monday evening. Man, today was kind of an interesting day, wasn't it, hon?
It really was. Absolutely. Yep.
And we put this thumbnail up earlier. Actually, last night we thought about it. We said, you know what? And I told Karen, I said, I got a feeling something's going to pop. I don't know what it is. And we decided to put this thumbnail up, seeing how this was going to be the first day back for Savannah. And boom, next thing you know it, there's this report of another note. What was your first impression, hon?
I think my impression is what probably most of you think, or some of you anyway, that, well, wait a minute. The timing of it is interesting, and definitely the veracity of it is very questionable.
Yeah.
So I might be in the camp that doesn't think it's real, but, it hit the news, so we're covering it.
Yep. And those of you who know Buddy, he's right behind us. So you may see him cruising around. That little rascal, if he gets into trouble, keep an eye on him. Let us know, because we don't have eyes behind our head
and
here.
He is, our little Jack Russell seems to be naughty when we're both on live together and highly distracted. So yeah. He knows what time it is.
Yeah, he's a nut job, but we love him. And those of you who see us at CrimeCon, we bring him to CrimeCon, and we brought him to Denver. and he got love more than us, which is right. Well, that's the right thing to do anyway.
Yeah, Buddy loves CrimeCon.
Yeah, Buddy
He loves
Crime
meeting
Con.
people. So,
And we're
just
hoping to
loves
see
it.
you at Crime Con. If you're going to make it to Vegas, we love to, connect with you guys. We're going to kind of put together hopefully a little meet and greet on our own to where we can hang out for a little bit. And so we'll give you more information about that. Also, we want to get a pulse from you about merchandise. We've heard people, say, why don't you guys get cups or hats or, hoodies or pajamas or whatever? If that's something that you really feel is important, then we want to consider headed down that road. But we haven't done that, as you know, because we're all about you. And but if that is something that you would be interested in, please let us know in the chat. That way, we'll go back and we'll take a hard look at that. Anything else that I'm missing? Happy Easter if you those of you who celebrate Easter, and happy Passover for our Jewish friends
For
out
another
there.
couple days. Yep.
Yeah. What is the correct terminology for that?
Probably just happy Passover. That works really well. Yeah.
Nothing in Hebrew?
Probably, but I don't know. I'm no expert.
Yep. And so today we're going to talk about two things tonight. We're going to talk about the return of Savannah to the Today Show, and we're going to see how that impacted the ratings when she was gone and now that she's back. And we're also going to cover that note that's gone out there, and you feel, Karen, that's just again one of these anomalies, right?
Yeah, I mean, the timing is so questionable that the day that Savannah makes it back on the air to the Today Show is the same day that TMZ happens to receive yet another note. And I don't think we can really call it a ransom note, because it's not really talking about ransom. It's more about whereabouts. Let's call it the whereabouts note. Somebody claiming to know the whereabouts of Nancy and her captor or captors, abductors, and asking for Bitcoin
Again.
And, TMZ said they turned it over to the FBI, which is the right thing to do. And I guess I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but we haven't seen an arrest. TMZ said they believe it's the same person who continues to, I think, incessantly contact them about this. And so, I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, I'm baffled. I got to be honest with you. I don't think it's connected, but then again, you can never say never. But at this point in the investigation, what really strikes me right off the get-go is the fact that guy in LA in Hawthorne, Derek Carella, is that his last name? Colella. That guy, he all of a sudden was on the radar like instantaneously, and the feds were all over this guy. But in this situation, they can't figure out how to get the guy, who's sending these encrypted notes to TMZ. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's something's not adding up.
Yeah, they've got to have traps or something going on here. And maybe the guy's using encrypted servers. Yeah, I get that. They can send it through, Proton Mail or whatever. They can send it through Tor, a lot of other, things that they can use. But there's still ways of deciphering and pulling that information back and kind of nailing this guy. But man, they were on top of that guy quickly in Hawthorne. I don't understand why they're not on top of this guy quickly. Thoughts?
Yeah, same. Let's go from the top.
Okay. What do you guys think in the chat about the latest one here? And we'll throw your questions up and we'll get to them in a little bit. So here's a breakdown essentially of Savannah's return today, April 6th. And, she's been gone since late January, and she comes back today and her co-anchors, 7 to 9 a.m., Craig Melvin, she's known that guy since about 2025. She stepped away from the show after her 84-year-old mother, Nancy Guthrie, disappeared from her home near Tucson on or around January 31st, February 1st, 2026. And the authorities have been treating this, as we all know, as a possible abduction or kidnapping. And this investigation still remains active with no suspects publicly identified. There has been some information about initially, the family members' cars were impounded. I still have a problem with that. Just saying, that's my personal opinion, and we can dive into that in a little bit. I still have a problem with some of the searches going back into the neighborhood. I have a problem with the authorities going over to a gas station nearby and grabbing some things. So we'll jump into that. But right now, Nancy Guthrie has been absent for almost 2 months. And, you know, Savannah has also been gone the same amount of time from the Today Show. And she shows up today. No pun intended. April 6, 2026. And let's play a little clip of when she, what the first opening words were. She also did that emotional sit down with Hoda.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's been maybe 10 days already.
So kind of set this up from what do you think's happening behind the scene from your experience in your journalism?
Well, obviously, Savannah felt like she needs to come back to work, and you cannot blame her. I mean, what she has gone through in the last 2 months and continues to live with every day, the not knowing and just the emotional roller coaster, I can't even imagine. So, of course she's going to want and need to come back to work. That's a must. I think it's kind of interesting. Everyone's, looking and hanging on to kind of every word. What is she saying to her co-host? What is she saying on the air? How do the producers set this up? Meaning, does she acknowledge that her mom is still missing and she's been going through this living nightmare? Does she just jump right into the news? We kind of we go through all that. If you guys haven't seen that and haven't seen any clips of her appearance back on the Today Show today, she showed up in a beautiful, bright and sunny yellow dress. Yellow obviously is symbolic, not just for the set of the Today Show with yellow flowers, but it's also symbolic of people waiting and hoping for loved ones to come back home. Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, that kind of thing. And we're going to see this, but she jumps right into her work. She doesn't directly talk about her mom's disappearance. She is thankful that she's back home. She thanks everybody. The interesting part is when, I think it was at the 8:30 hour, they go outside. Part of the Today Show is they step outside of the, at Rockefeller Center, and they're meeting. They have the audience. There's people out there who, I guess, like early in the morning, no matter the weather, are out there with signs and, whatever. And I guess she got emotional when she went outside and saw the live audience and the people with the signs and all that. And, you can just, your heart breaks for her. But, she came back, and I thought it was great. I thought, she's extremely professional. She's been a journalist for decades now. She's also a lawyer in her background. And, this is what she does. She feels like, and she said, it's good to be home. And, everybody welcomed her co-anchors. And, it seemed like it all seemed like it went off probably as the producers intended.
Yeah. So do you think, obviously there was a big setup to get to today, to this point. And it's ironic, that the show's name is Today. And, the headlines are really interesting because here's the headlines. And by the way, Love the interview room. Thank you, Andrea, and all of the panel from Nashville, Tennessee. Way to go. Thank you for being here. Note today could be from angry guy, frustrated Savannah, went back to work and has ignored him. You know, that's a really good point. And we cannot say that's not a possibility for sure. But let's check out the headlines here. You know, Savannah Guthrie returns to today. It is good to be home. I thought that was a really interesting choice of words, to be honest with you.
How so?
Well, that's, you know, that's her work. That's really not her home. I mean, her heart's in, you know, her heart's in Tucson with her mom. Yet there had to be something going on behind the scenes that, you know, kind of drive that right to the point. You know what I mean? When she first gets on set here. So let's listen to it real fast. And then for those of you that may have missed it, here's what happened this morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Today on this Monday morning. We are so glad you started your week with us, and it is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back at home.
Well, here we go. Ready or not?
Yeah.
Let's do the news.
Yes, so good to have you back.
We are back at 8:30 on this beautiful Monday morning, and it's a special Monday.
Okay, so I have a question. Do you think that was sincere, not from Savannah, but from the co-host?
No, that's everybody's got an opinion on that. I mean, they know each other, they work together. It's hard to think somebody's going to be compassionless when it comes to Savannah and what she's been through. So I don't know. You know, I mean, some people, everybody has a different opinion on the Today Show. It's morning television. So I think everybody, we know this is not like hard news. It's never considered serious news. This is really what we call infotainment. You know, yes, they go through the news but they do lightweight interviews. And the whole idea is to like get people up, excited, and, you know, watch perky people in the morning before they start their day. That's like the whole point of morning television, obviously. And so, you know, is he genuine? Is he not? I think everybody's going to have their own opinion on that.
Yeah. And one of the things, you know, you pointed out the yellow. I mean, there's Craig has a yellow tie. She's got a yellow dress. There are yellow flowers. There's yellow everywhere. Even the people outside are wearing yellow bands. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but watch when they go outside in this clip and they show the crowd. They passed out the producers passed out all these yellow ribbons for people to wear on their clothing as Savannah, you know, came outside, which is, you know, it's interesting.
Welcome to Today on this Monday morning. We are so glad you started your week with us, and it is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back at home.
Well, here we go. Ready or not? Let's do the news.
Yes, so good to have you back.
We are back at 8:30
Oh,
on this beautiful Monday
yeah.
morning, and it's a special Monday morning for us and for this crowd as well. Special because we're welcoming back our North Star. Yeah. SG, come on out here. Come on back up.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Good morning.
They've been waiting for it. How does it feel?
These signs are so beautiful. You guys have been so beautiful. I've received so many letters, so much kindness to me and my whole family, and we feel it. We feel your prayers. So thank you so much.
It's not just today. They've been out here
every day.
every day.
This is such
with
a nice
signs.
pocket square. I don't want to slobber on it. Okay, it is. I know.
You know, it's not just today. They've been out here every day. I mean, that's a qualifying statement. And I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How little is a million of them?
Okay.
We
love you.
All right. So that's that. on today's show.
Yeah. So, it is coordinated. I thought it was very respectful for Savannah, meaning that the Today Show, what she did, how they presented it. She's in the yellow. Everybody, her colleagues acknowledged it, but they didn't dwell on it at all. And she didn't reference her mom. She kind of got into it. They got into their news, their interviews, everything they were going to do on the show. So, it's probably a big relief to her that she has it behind her that first day back. I was telling Chris, I always go, I just don't think about today. I'm thinking down the road. Okay. And she made it through her first day back at work, which of course was going to be tough emotionally. And I think everybody agrees she did an amazing job. She was composed and professional, and, she did her best. And I don't see how anybody could fault her for that at all. Now the hard part begins, because we're at day, I believe it's 65 at least, since her mom's been missing. And when we go back to the investigation and go back to Tucson and look at what is going on and the no news that's coming out officially, that part has to be a huge letdown. There's no regular news coming out. The sheriff hasn't given I guess he has given an interview to,
local.
He did an interview with the local KVOA. I believe it was last week, maybe 10 days ago. I have to go back and look. But there's no regular messaging coming out of Pima County Sheriff's Department. Today we get this, crazy note from through TMZ. And it's like, where's the case? Is it stalled? Is it cold? I don't think we're asking, can it be solved? I think all law enforcement experts we've talked to, I mean, Chris, you certainly feel like, yeah, it can be solved.
I think it can be.
We just don't know when.
That's a great point right here. The Ellen Wood's mom. I wonder if they wanted her back to work to draw someone or something out. That is a great point.
That is a really astute
solid point.
Yeah.
Very good thinking.
Yeah. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I don't think they would have prevented that to that point, to her point, that if Savannah had come out and said, look, I want to go back to work. What do you guys think? Will it hurt, et cetera? No, in fact, I've been, advocating that if they have more photographs of this guy, they have to release the photos. And what's really interesting is the sheriff on that one interview you were just talking about, Hun, where, he was talking about, don't criticize, our homicide guys, or the fact that, I'm hearing that the investigator only had 2 years worth of experience. Don't say that. The sergeant, had been in there at least 2 years. And then he goes about to say right behind that, and we didn't make any mistakes. Okay. Well,
there's not a person on the planet who believes that.
Well, and then he says, and by the way, when the reporter asked him in a follow-up question, well, what about the union that's saying that you have a vote of no confidence? And how does he answer it? He says, well, we have 5 unions. So that's only 1 out of 5. Well, yeah, but what he failed to tell you is some of that is what they call the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, which is the entire state of, Arizona. And they're not going to vote on that, number one. The second is a civilian union where, you have civilian employees like the record staff and all of those. They're not going to vote on that. The people that voted were the competency deputies, those that work directly for him, not the support staff. And so, which gave me a really interesting insight into how this guy continues to think. Okay. Now, I was the president. I was the president at one point of our bargaining unit, in our union, in Southern California. And I used to meet with the chief all the time. We all had our pluses and our minuses. Never had I ever worked for any leader uh, with such an ego as this guy, or a record like this guy. I'd never met anybody who spent 35 days off on the job because of suspensions. And so I went back and I looked today at the annual report for 2025 in Pima County, which every year the sheriff has to prepare. And I would encourage you to do the same. The sheriff has to prepare it and put it down, to the supervisors. And today the Board of Supervisors came out in Pima County. It's just going to kind of give you an idea of where these people are at down there. Okay. Now, the law is the law. I'm a pretty black and white kind of guy. There may be gray area, and they call that officer discretion. Okay. Where you want to keep moving on to something else. Okay. Well, the Board of Supervisors down there, even today, said that the federal government, i.e. ICE, can't come in and enforce any laws. And they're going to need a warrant. Okay. Now, this is the jail that the sheriff operates. Okay. Now, that means people that are in the system, potentially, okay, maybe even the killers of Nancy Guthrie, if they'd crossed over the border and they came back and they were arrested, if there was a detainer warrant for them, i.e. for them to be picked up by a federal agency, guess what? What this Board of Supervisors just did today is prevent those individuals from being taken into custody by the feds. Now, say what you will about the issues. We all get it. But at the same time, these are the kind of things that get in the way of what the law is, not what people are doing. Okay. We need to work on these problems. That's not a question. Okay. I'm not taking one side or the other. I'm just saying it could backfire even in this case.
So let's reframe that and just kind of simply state it,
Sure.
Especially if people are just coming in and joining us. So what you're saying is the decision that the Pima County Board of Supervisors made today is that they're not going to cooperate with the federal ICE agents in Pima County for arrests.
Right.
And if I'm understanding what you're saying is that if potentially Nancy Guthrie's abductor or abductors fall into that, happen to be folks that ICE would be looking for, the County Board of Supervisors just made it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for them to be arrested if they're still in Pima County.
Right. So
is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So let's play this out. They brought in BORTAC the very first day. They brought in Customs and Border Patrol with their search dogs, remember? Okay.
I do.
So let's say those dogs now and those agents are out in the field somewhere and they run across Nancy Guthrie being held by somebody who's not necessarily here legally. Okay. What the Board of Supervisors just said is they can't take them into custody. Now think about that. Somebody who potentially could be out somewhere with her, and we're hearing now in this TMZ note that this suspect is saying he saw her over the border.
On the other side of the border.
On the other side of the border.
Allegedly.
Now let's do the math here. Okay. This is the same county where she was abducted from. And what they're saying now, the Board of Supervisors is saying, and that means Sheriff Nanos, Nonads, has to support this. And so he's in a catch-22 situation, which when you are not telling, also being straight to the public, what else is he not telling us about this investigation from the get-go? From the get-go. because he says he's cleared everybody. Okay. But on one side of the coin, he says, well, no, all of our investigators are experienced, and yet you have reliable law enforcement sources, including Sergeant Cross, who we had on this program, who said, no, that's not the case. The officer that was assigned this investigation has never worked a homicide. And so now we have to think about this and go, well, wait a minute, what else is going on here behind the scenes? And then when we pulled his record, when you went to El Paso and pulled his records, all of a sudden we started seeing a pattern that this guy had lied or had been deceptive on his resume.
Right. Chris Nanos, the sheriff.
Yeah, Chris Nanos. And immediately it came out that they scrubbed it and started changing it, and then they started making excuses for it. Okay.
You know, just as you're talking and talking about this one particular issue regarding who Pima County can and can't arrest per the Board of Supervisors, I don't know. Like I think probably like everybody out there, like you would assume there's this kind of dragnet scenario going on, meaning we want to make sure that the authorities are making it difficult, not easy, for anybody potentially remotely involved in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance to be hauled in, obviously legally, for questioning. And, people want an arrest. They want the sheriff to make an arrest or arrests in this case. And anything that they do, I wish they would have held off just a little bit, even if this was something that they wanted to do, because it would be horrible if this ends up, if is the key, if it ends up impacting the Nancy Guthrie case. Now, we don't know if it will or won't, but why make it any more difficult for Pima County to solve this case?
Okay, so here's the article for everybody to see right in front of us.
You may have to read it super small, especially if people are on their phone.
That's fine. It's the Attorney General, of Arizona, and they have directed officials right here in Pima County, which encompasses Tucson, have directed county authorities to deny immigration enforcement agents access to county property unless they have judicial warrants. Okay, so here, let's play this out. They're basically, what they're saying is, you guys can't come up here no matter what. That's what they're saying. Okay. So here's a question. Now today, you have TMZ gets a letter.
Yeah, let's go over what was said in that.
An anonymous letter. So let's see here. TMZ received 2 reported notes now today. A second one.
Wow.
So this is number 2. Claiming to know where Nancy Guthrie's body is and who is responsible for her kidnapping, the outlet revealed. The pair of notes was sent from the same mystery person who nearly 2 months ago demanded 1 Bitcoin in exchange for information related to Guthrie's February 1 disappearance. Now, this is 2 notes sent to TMZ. Okay. Now, I don't know the validity of these notes. Do you?
No, we don't. I mean, and they could be bogus.
Yeah, they could be bogus. There's a high probability it's noise, as I like to say. This is just like totally out of left field. But if this is something closer to the home, which I believe it is, somebody within the South Tucson area, then this could also be part of that play as a ruse to keep the smoke, the wind blowing this way towards TMZ. Does that make sense?
So what would be the strategy for doing that? Why would somebody do that?
Well, when there's heat, you want to create wind. And you want that when the smoke comes up, you want it to go the other way. Okay, because think about this. let's talk about this a little bit at length tonight. Whoops. All right. Here's what I mean. We have only one concept that law enforcement is operating under. And in the chat, you guys tell me what you think that one concept is. I want to see what you guys are thinking, and then we can have a really, I think, interesting conversation. Hey, what I mean by that is on the timeline, what's the one idea that sticks out to everybody?
When her pacemaker disconnected, or the 1:47 a.m. when the person is seen on the camera?
Yes. Well, all that happened after this first concept, after this first timeline piece. All of the sightings, all of her spiking, everything. But there's one piece of evidence that was presented here. Okay. And thank you for for my sneeze. You're very kind.
He couldn't hit the mute button in time.
Did I hit the mute button in
No,
time?
you didn't.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize.
No worries.
The fact, who puts Nancy Guthrie in that house?
The children.
The family. Actually, one member of the family, allegedly. Okay. At what time?
9:48 p.m.
Correct. And then the garage door closes, right?
We're told.
At 9:50. That's the last proof of life. Now, why should we believe that?
It's a good question.
Because the sheriff says so? Because the sheriff can't even get things correct from the get-go. And when you have these counter conversations, okay, that take place in an investigation, that usually means you're smelling something, i.e., you're getting close to the source of the smell. And so now we go back again to the craziness of this whole thing. Okay. We have an Uber driver that can definitely say proof of life.
Yep. That was 5:32 p.m. Saturday, January 31st.
5:30 p.m., 5:32 p.m. And then we have the next piece of this at 9:50 p.m. At 9:50, that garage door closes. But we don't know how she got in that house. We don't know if she was escorted in, because we did a show early on, about 2 months ago, where the sheriff said in the first press conference, yes, the family did go in with her. And then it was changed to no, the son-in-law, how did she get in the house is the question.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I mean, we only know what the family provided to the sheriff's department.
Okay. And so if we think about this whole thing, this whole narrative, the entire narrative has originated on one side of the coin. It did not originate in totality with a suspect and evidence of that suspect until you see the video. Now, what do you see in that video?
The video of porch guy, right?
Right. So while everybody's focused on porch guy, we're missing the fact that the authorities were doing other things. Okay. We have this information from the sheriff, the very first press conferences that he does, that quickly puts the timeline together for the public. But now we're hearing maybe there's additional information of this suspect. They may have recovered more information. The fact that this person now, and we're hearing that the doors were propped open, but where did all that information come from?
The family.
And so it's almost like this common denominator that keeps circling back, and then you have, the authorities going over to the house, searching the house, going back again. I'm not going to kick a dead horse, but this is also stuff we cannot ignore. And I'm not saying they're at the porch or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these are the kind of things that don't look right. Because I want to hear from the family. I don't want to hear Savannah say, "My family thanks you." I don't want to hear, the idea that the sheriff says, "Everybody's been cleared, nothing to see here, move along." Okay, then how'd the family get in the house? Tell the public. Did they use a garage clicker? Did they use an app on their phone? How come we don't have a data point if that was the case? Why didn't they see the blood on the porch? Was it suspicious that the back doors were propped open? If so, how long did they search for their mom? Was it 11 a.m. or 11:56 p.m. a.m.? Okay, that's a 56-minute difference that you put out there. The sheriff put all of this information out there. And then the second question is, why did you download their phones? Why did you impound their cars? Why did you search their houses? Why did you go to the gas station? Why were all of these things done? I want to know that. I don't want to be told, the public, well, they passed polygraphs, therefore they're cleared. Okay? Well, Ted Bundy passed a polygraph, okay, and they're just a tool. We used to use them all the time. Did they pass a CVSA? Did you give them a CVSA? Do you even know what a CVSA is? A computer voice stress analysis test? Did you do that? Did you swab them? If so, why? Why did you do that? If you've cleared them, go ahead.
And then I wanted to know, and I brought this up on the last show that we did on this, how were they all interviewed? Were they interviewed separately, brought into the Pima County Sheriff's Office, into an interview room with a recording going on? Or was it more casual on the couch because, you're dealing with a famous person who has a friend named Senator Mark Kelly, who we know was called in immediately. I mean, I'm not saying that we know something that may or may not have happened. I'm asking questions because I've seen in other very high profile cases where family members were incorrectly interviewed and either cleared or not cleared. And so, or family that, is happy to talk with the detectives when they come to their house, but won't go into the station for a one-on-one recorded interview. It's a basic question. I mean, we're not even asking what was said. We're just wondering what was done. We've heard and we've seen from the very beginning on this case, standard protocol is not what they did.
It wasn't followed.
It wasn't followed. Obviously, the crime scene was turned back way too early after 24 hours-ish, something like that. So my question tagged along with what Chris is asking, his questions. How were the family interviewed?
Well, and here,
I think it's a legitimate question.
well, we have an 84-year-old woman, right, hon? That's been missing now over 2 months. And you sit down with somebody, and I'm gonna talk about a case. I'm gonna do a video on it. Karen remembers it. I've shared this briefly. Her name was Rebecca Ann Jensen. And she was a mom who disappeared. I'm not going to go into a lot of details tonight, but this case reminds me so much of that case where this woman just vanished off of the earth. And the irony here is the women don't vanish. 84-year-old women don't vanish out of their homes. They're like children. Children don't vanish. Summer Wells did not go into her basement and vanish in Tennessee. Okay. Something happened there. And this is the same situation where, you see this guy on the porch and everybody goes, okay, that's the guy. That's our guy. Okay, well, yeah, he's probably part of the problem. There's no question about that. Okay. But then you have to reverse engineer that and say, well, why did this guy come on the 11th? Why did this guy show up, even before that?
On January 24th.
On the 24th.
Another Saturday night.
And then show up, okay, tonight's the night, the full moon. I'm going to make sure that, everything's good to go here. And then I'm going to abduct her out out through the front door. And we've, hit that hammer, and nail more than once. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And that's why this is so confusing. And that's why, for me, it's not. I stay very simplistic task. Am I a task-oriented person?
You're highly task-oriented.
And I don't get distracted, unfortunately. Okay? Because when you get distracted, you end up going off into, left field or right field or whatever. Okay. And I even got hammered. Nancy Grace, my friend, she goes, McDonough, you're still on the family? I said, I can't take them off the plate yet. I'm not saying they're involved. I'm not saying they did it. But if you can say they're off the plate because the sheriff says they're off the plate, then you need to explain all of these other things. You need to explain why there's no data point, how they got into that house. And then you need to explain when they did get into that house to search for their mother, why they didn't see or feel that any of those doors propped open or left open or the lights being, dislodged outside of the exterior of the home or the gates left open, why that wasn't suspicious activity. And immediately the alarm bells went off for that family and they weren't on the phone calling 911. Why is that information not common sense to the public? And then if that was common sense to the investigators, the rookie investigators, okay, then why'd they impound the car? I go back to, the car is back. That's fine. But I was the only channel out here saying, why do they have the guy's car? Why'd they impound the daughter's car? It's not for normal investigative routine in evidence, collection. That's not why they did it. Trust me, from a guy who's worked over 300 murders in my career, that's not why we do it. Okay. We do it because we think there's evidence in that car. And what evidence could you possibly find in that car when you have the driver of the car saying, yeah, I drove her over here and I dropped her off and she went in the house? Okay, fine. Why do you need to prove she was in the car if you believe them? A jury doesn't want to hear that. A jury wants to hear the credibility of the witness getting up, putting their hand up and saying, what did you do? Well, I drove her over, dropped her off. She got out of my car and went into the house. Okay, thank you. No further questions. Let's move on. But now it becomes an anomaly when the detective gets up there and says, well, you heard this statement. Yes, I did. Did you believe it? Well, yeah. Then what did you do? Well, we impounded his car. Well, why did you do that? Just to make sure Mrs. Guthrie was in that car. So you didn't believe him? Well, no, I believed him. Okay, then why'd you impound the car? Do you see where that goes? And it goes, it's so simple sometimes to kind of just follow the bouncing ball. Okay? The bouncing ball. And what were they looking for? And then you add on top of that this time frame from the moment she went in that house and the narrative of her going in that house at 9:48 p.m. We're supposed to believe that's it. That's how it happened. It's over. 9:48, she got out of the car. 9:50, the garage door closed. 10 p.m., she's supposed to take her medicine. Or she dies within 24 hours, according to the sheriff, the next morning. So did she take her medicine? Did she not take her medicine? We know that her watch spiked. We know her pacemaker spiked within a 4-hour period. Within a 4-hour period. And then what did he do? He drove home. Was there a conversation about, did you drop mom off? Yeah, she's at home. Okay. Mom, is there a text message? Mom, did you make it in okay? 84 years old. Yeah, I'm fine, hon. Okay, good night. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. And then all this thing goes down, and the only two people we don't hear from are the last two people that saw her alive. And we're supposed to believe, or we're supposed to think, oh, you can't question that. You can't ask questions about that. Are you kidding me? I'm the sheriff. I told you everything's clear. Yeah, you also told us that your resume was clean too.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe him. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. And the math is not mathing. And I hope I'm 1,000% wrong. I really do. I hope I'm 10,000% wrong. And you know what? I'm good with that. If it meant Nancy Guthrie, and I'm asking these questions at least to stimulate conversation and thought, thinking out of the box, to a rookie that's never investigated a homicide. Okay. But the sheriff says, yeah, but the sergeant has. Okay, well, great. He's not making all the decisions. And if he is, then you're micromanaging him. And that's why there are mistakes. That's why the tape was torn down. 1,000%. Okay. And I could be wrong. I hope I am. But guess what? Right now, I think I'm right. And the reason is we've not heard from them. If I'm wrong, then I hope that Annie and Tommaso come forward and do an interview.
That would be very enlightening.
A hard
I think
interview.
it would really help.
A question interview. A Q&A interview with the news. Not just your sister.
No, like maybe even local news.
Yeah, just
some hard news person in Tucson.
Sit down and tell the world what occurred that night. What happened that evening? And I understand people are like, well, yeah, we don't want to they want to be private. They want to do this. They want to do that. Well, then why is their sister on national television talking about their mom? Is she the only one that can do it? I think it's logical that if they're a team and they're a solid unit, then why not hear from them?
Yeah. And what if somebody out there sees that interview and finally realizes, hey, I have a tip. I need to call into the FBI, and it's a legitimate tip.
Great point.
More media coverage helps. Less media coverage does not keep this case in the news, and it will lead to a cold case.
Yeah, and if a lawyer did button them up,
they can sit down with the lawyer.
Yeah, why? Yeah, let's all get together because there's nothing to hide. Remember, this is their mom. You don't hide, okay, when your mom is missing. You don't do that. Okay? And people can say, well, that's how people grieve. Well, okay, but then what happens when the media goes away and the music stops and everybody goes on to the next case? What happens then? Another Dale Warner who sealed his wife in a fertilizer tank? And by the way, I'm batting 1,000 right now because Billy and I went up there to Michigan and we told the police up there who, Greca, which we found out he was dirty. And Billy and I called that the day we were there. I pulled Billy aside and I said, this guy's dirty. There's something wrong here. Or how about Maya Meliette when the chief wouldn't help Richard
and Mary Chris?
He wouldn't help him.
But eventually he did. He came around.
Yeah, her. And we went out there and I facilitated a meeting between everybody and got the families all on board. And guess what? He's in custody. They did an amazing job there. But those are the things that don't look right. Don't look right. And in this case, I think it would be very logical to have, these questions answered. Or even more importantly, if you have more pictures and you want the public to solve the case or help you solve the case, which you just mentioned, Goodwill, the double homicide there in Pima County where your, experienced investigator solved it. Okay. Well, guess what you did? You put the suspect's picture in the paper and the public picked up the phone and said, here's your guy. You didn't solve it. The public did once again.
Which they often do. And sometimes in videos and photos, even family members recognize their family members and then call the family members and say, hey, is that you? And then eventually call police and get that family member turned in.
Or friends that say, hey, man, you're on TV. Oh, hey, by the way, there's $1.2 million reward for you. I'm no longer your friend. How come nobody's collected the $1.2 million? The even Bitcoin guy here who knows where the body is in the latest TMZ.
Right. So actually think this through on this. It's not a ransom note. What did I call it? It's a
demand.
Yeah, it's just a demand note. Okay, if he really does know where Nancy is and really does know who the kidnappers are, why don't you just pick up the phone and call the FBI, drop the information and say, I'll take my $1.2 million, please.
Yeah.
Why are we going through TMZ and demanding now we're down to half a Bitcoin, which is like what, 35,000 instead of 62,000 or whatever?
Obviously, the guy doesn't know how to use a calculator.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just noise. There's just it's just bogus. And it ticks me off. It's like, it's so obvious. Like, oh, the day Savannah comes back on the Today Show and it's back in the news. This guy decides to sit down and email 2 notes to TMZ. Why? Just for the, media attention? Is that what it is, Chris?
It's got to be. It's got to be. And by the way, I asked Gary to come on, but he's with patients tonight. I wanted his take on the latest note. And others are out and about. John's finishing his last chapter in Bring Out Your Dead. Anyway, and would the car data have shown
Yeah,
proof?
Kika J, that's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. A data point that would either corroborate or dismiss the family story. What do you think, Chris?
Well, yes, but you don't tear the car apart to get to that computer. It's not complicated for those computers. I mean, a lot of people think that, you got to get in there and you do have to take it apart. But here's the other side of that coin. Law enforcement doesn't have to put it back together.
Right, exactly. That's not their job. Their job's to get the information.
Right. And so that was kind of even weird.
Yeah, that really seemed like Sheriff was doing Savannah's family a favor that nobody else would ever probably get. Maybe if you contributed to his campaign, maybe you would, but it's highly unethical. If you're doing it for one, you do it for all, and if you're not doing it for all, don't do it for one.
Yeah, let's always remember that the sheriff is a politician, okay, who, his first duty is to zig and zag. Okay. I mean, if we watch the latest interview that he did, where he says, well, don't insult my guys, but insult me all day long. I'm the sheriff. I can take it. Well, okay, well, fine. Then we'll start doing that instead.
But people have said how vindictive he is, and he hates personal attacks.
Yes.
And extracts some retribution. So which is it?
Well, and imagine working for that guy on eggshells, walking on his eggshells. Can you imagine what his PIO is going through?
I feel bad for everybody underneath him at the department, because people get into this line of work because they want to help and they want to do some good. And when there's, a narcissist running the show at the top, it's brutal. It's just brutal.
Yeah, and we see where that personality extended from. We did a show on his record in El Paso. Okay. I mean, the guy was suspended. How many days? A total of 37?
37.
Okay, let me put that in perspective, okay? Within a
6 years, 5 or 6 years.
Within a 6-year period of working for the public. Okay, remember that terminology, protect and serve? Okay. There's a reason for that, right? Whenever you would stop somebody, and you always get that citizen says, hey, I pay your salary. Well, there's kind of some truth to that. Okay? And so therefore, you try to be on your best behavior. Okay. You saw that panel. You saw all of us that were out there in terms of law enforcement. Okay. In all of my years in the business, I never got suspended once. Zero. Hey. And that wall of shame that I used to have in my other office, which I've kind of toned down behind me, okay, is for that reason. This guy, if this guy was working next to me and I was in patrol and he was in the car next to me, I would be like, no way, dude. We're not playing that game. That's why I don't have a problem talking about him like this, because I've done what he's doing, but not what he's done. Okay.
And yeah, and people have made the very astute point. If that had come out, he probably would have never been hired by Pima County decades ago. He wouldn't have qualified.
And this is a great comment here. Marin Channer. Is A&T's car still listed as being on evidence sheet even though it's been returned? That would be telling. The answer is yes. It is still listed as an item of evidence, but it has been signed out as returned to the family. In trial, there is a number for that car.
So I have a question. Would the Range Rover also be a number on an evidence sheet?
Great
because
point.
it was searched and returned? And same with Carlos's car, the guy who, the Rio Rico stop, the hot stop, and then house search. Would
Yes,
those be as well?
absolutely. And in fact, Nancy's car is on an evidence sheet and they're still holding her car.
Which is not uncommon. It would be common.
Well, that would make sense unless it's connected to something else that we don't know about. Maybe that car was used.
Could be. We don't know. Yeah.
Think about that, guys and gals. Maybe Miss Guthrie's, her own car could have potentially been used. Why do they have that car still being held? Because it's evidence. They towed it. They seized it as a piece of evidence. Okay, and if they brought it back, okay, that's good. That means they processed it. And if you're crime time, if Cameron is driving it, okay, fine, then that's a good thing. But it's still on the evidence list, and it's been released. It's been signed off by the evidence manager. They call him the custodial of evidence. That person will have to come to trial, just like we see, in high-profile trials. That person will have to come to trial and put their hand up, and the DA is going to say, okay, would you take a look at item number 4? They're going to look at it, and it says, okay, would you read that to the jury, please? 1 blue Subaru belonging to Nancy Guthrie. Okay, and what's the disposition of that evidence? And first, they're going to lay the foundation for that person to even give a reason or an opinion, right? Are you the evidence custodial, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to basically give them a mini voir dire, right? As in, yeah, you're the right guy to be here to testify in front of the jury. And what was the reason you released that car? Well, I was told to release it from the lead investigator. And how did this individual tell you that? Well, I have an email. Okay, I'd like to show you item number 4 for the people. Is this the email you're referring to? Yes. And who's it from? Objection, hearsay. Okay, I'll lay the foundation. Did it come from somebody in the department? Yes. Did it come from the lead detective? Yes. Okay. What's it say? Release the car. Does it give a reason? Done processing. And did you do that? Yes. Did you call them up? Yes. Who came down? Blah, blah, blah. And the list, and it just goes on, right? It just goes on. Okay. So that said, okay, I just lost my train of thought for 30 seconds.
I know. I was wondering
I just saw
where you were going.
No, I just saw a comment for a second, and I wanted to answer the guy's question, but I can't do that right now. All right. So yes, it's still on the evidence list. I wonder, yes, we answered that. Thank you. Half a Bitcoin. Why not go for the whole reward if they really know where she is at? Didn't make sense. And Chris Karen really suspect, bring her home. We completely agree, Truth Seeker
completely.
for Justice.
Doesn't make sense.
And thank you always for being here. You're so kind. Crime Time, you're awesome. Breaking news from Ashley Bamfield. FBI believe OG ransom letters were real. Okay. Yeah, there were 2 original letters that were sent in. Um, yeah, that's awesome. But the question is, um, did they connect to Nancy, or are they smoke and mirrors?
Well, and again, if they were real, why didn't they go after the $1 million, $1 million reward? It's the same principle for today's 2 notes that showed up.
Yeah, the
Right.
original ones could be real. It could be part of a plan. That's I'm all over that personally. Okay. Did you see 2 ransom notes? Yeah. Are you aware that T teaches CSI? I've heard that, but I can't confirm that. I've just heard that's a rumor. But if we have, total documentation on that, then that would be very interesting as well. New note is trying to stir the pot. The perp is annoyed.
I
Yep,
would agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
I would agree with that as well. Chris, if you were put on the case, what are some of the first things you would do or change with the investigation? Love the show.
Great question.
Hun Saker Gumshoe. Well, the first thing I would have done if I got called out is what I've done in every case, is make sure the entire scene is locked down 100%. And that a crime scene log has been started by the very first officer on the scene. And on that crime scene log is a date or a name, a date, a time, in, out, and remarks. And they're pre-printed. And we used to have them in a homicide package is what we called it. And so you go to your trunk, you pull the package out, you hand it to the first officer on the scene, and in there is a bunch of checklist things. Did you see any lights on? What was the temperature within the house? What was the exterior temperature? Did you notice any items missing? Did you notice anything moved? If so, what? And you just go down this checklist. And while the officer has dead time, no pun intended, okay, and nobody's coming in and out, then he's reading this checklist, or she's reading this checklist, and they're checking off the things that they saw or didn't see. And then the second thing I would do after that individual is busy, I'd make sure that the crime scene is extended far enough so that it's secure. And we call that a secondary pull, meaning if, let's say, the first officers get there and they put tape up, okay, well, I double that. I move it back all the way to the street and I wrap it all the way around the house, the entire house, not just the front of the house, the entire property. We shut it down. Once that is controlled, then you circle up. When I'll give you simple examples of routine habits. You get into these habits where you carry your flashlight in your left hand. You never carry it in your gun hand because in case if you run into something while looking or searching or whatever, your gun hand is free. You don't have to switch hands, put the flashlight in your other hand. Always want that free, your gun side, your strong side. And if you're left-handed, then it's the opposite. And when you walk into a scene, just like we were walking the dog the other night, what's the first thing I asked you? Remember when we were talking? You were like, I don't want to step in the grass.
Oh yeah, you said you shine the light down and you look ahead or something like that.
Yeah, and the first thing you start looking for is, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Right? And by the way, if we do get merch, I'm thinking of a hoodie that says, I was trained at the interview room. Would you guys wear something like that? out there.
That's kind of cute.
Okay. This, and what I'm talking about here, we teach cops all day long. And you will be surprised how many officers don't know this, because they come from patrol and they go, here you go. You are now in homicide. Okay. Well, the agency I came from, you were put underneath somebody. Okay. And
you were sent to schools.
And I wasn't completely certified until, a couple of years in. Okay? And so you start looking for two things. You look for footprints, three things: tire tracks and blood. And you keep your head down. Okay. And I had an execution one time, a guy on a porch. He was a cartel member, and they took him to his mother's house. This is a crazy story. And they shot him on his mom's porch, and he dropped. Okay. When I showed up, the first patrol guy was, they used to call me Mac. He said, "Hey, Mac, everything's tight." I said, "Okay, great." And I started putting my flashlight down where the officer was. And I said, except for the blood you're standing in. And he looked down and went, "Oh, crap." I said, "Rule number 1, keep your light in your hand." Okay. And then we had to extend the scene even further. Okay.
Did he have to take off his shoes or what?
Oh, yeah. We had to take pictures of his shoes. We had his boots now go into evidence. Okay. Because it was the victim's blood, but the suspect had transferred it onto the suspect's shoe, which that was his blood trail leaving the place. Okay. And so those are just the common sense things. And once it's shut down, then you can start working. You can decide, do we need a search warrant? If so, why? Do we need to call the DA? Do we need to call a judge and get what they call a telephonic night warrant? Is this an exigent circumstance? 84 years old, missing in her house. You measure it off on the victim risk continuum: environment, situation, circumstance, low, medium, high. Where's it fit? Low. Okay. We may want to wake up a judge. Okay. And you go to your packet again, and there is a search warrant in that packet, and it's got verbiage. Your Honor, I'm at so-and-so, such and such an address. It's a brick building with yada, 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 an arch in the front. There appears to be blood on the front porch. The interior of the house, yada, 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 yada. I would like a telephonic search warrant to search this resident, Your Honor. And the judge over the phone with the DA on the phone, it's all being recorded. And the judge says, "Okay, detective, put your hand up." You're standing at in the front yard, or, in a command van or whatever. And he says, "Okay, you swear, blah, blah, blah." "Yes, I do, Your Honor." "Okay, sign the warrant." And you sign the judge's name on the warrant. He says, "Date and time." "Okay, and now sign your name underneath it." Yada, yada. "Okay, you have a warrant. Now you go exercise, or you go now execute this warrant into the house, into the car, anything." And then when you're done, you've got this evidence list. It's all out here of all the things you've collected, all the photos you've taken, and you leave a copy in the house, you leave a copy in the car, you give a copy to anybody that had control or dominion over that property, and you leave with your evidence. Or better yet, you hold the scene. You don't shut it down like they did here in 24 hours. You don't do that. Because at that point, now that's what they call a rollback warrant. And you don't have a fight with the FBI behind the scenes because you didn't like the way the FBI handled one of your investigations from your department. And you don't kick them away. You don't kick them out and say, "You guys, we're not needing you. We don't need you. We're going to do it ourselves." And so they collect evidence and send it to their own lab. When you have the evidence response team out of Phoenix ready to go, what Pima County should have done in such a high profile situation is just step back for the evidence and say, we need your help. Can you make this happen? First question they're going to ask is, do you have a warrant? Yes. Okay. Let's go. And guess what the sheriffs do? They're perimeter. All they do is guard the perimeter. And that one guy with the log, when somebody, he goes home, goes to sleep, he hands it to the next person coming on saying, okay, this is where we left off. You don't put it in a little notebook like they did in Moscow. Go watch that video of the body camera of the officer at the door with a captain standing there. He's writing in a little notebook. Okay, Nonads just came in at 21:13 hours. Oh, Nonads left 21:64.
And that's another, in the Idaho 4 case, you had a 2-year Detective Brett Payne had 2 years on the job, and I believe 0 homicide experience in the Idaho 4 quadruple murder case.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what else that does? The reality of this, when you do a lot of this, okay, is when the sheriff shows up, he says, well, I want to go on the scene. You say, no problem, sign here. And guess what happens? Now he's on the
Witness list.
the witness list and the subpoena list. And the first thing the defense is going to do is call the sheriff to the stand. And they're going to put him up there and they're going to say, so Sheriff Nonads, why did you go to the scene? Well, that was my guys, my scene, whatever. Okay. Makes sense. No problem. Why'd you go in the house? It was a murder scene, right? At least you thought it was a crime scene. You called your homicide guys out. Yeah. So why were you in there? Now he's got to tell the jury what he was doing. And then you get the other follow-up. I used to love these things. You get the other follow-up questions of, what were you wearing that night? Well,
Why would that make a difference?
Did you turn it in for the chain of custody if you cross-contaminated something? That's where they go.
So the defense loves this.
Oh, the defense loves it. What did you think was on the front porch? Well, there was blood. Did it look like there was a footprint on the front porch in that blood potentially? Yeah, it appeared that way. Were your shoes photographed? I don't believe so. So you could have actually stepped in the blood. Well, no, I don't believe so. Well, how do you know? Would you tell the jury? You see where these things can go pretty quickly, pretty rapidly. I mean, just look at Murdoch. Okay.
Alec Murdoch.
Alec Murdoch. The clerk writes a book and he gets a new trial. There's an appeal. Okay.
He gets an appeal. He hasn't had a new trial.
You don't think, whatever his name, Harpoolian, is going to drive everything that he can, if he sees a hole and he can get a motorhome through it, he's going to drive right through it. And I'll guarantee you that Nonads has given more than a garage for a motorhome in this thing. Okay. This guy has opened up a whole new RV center.
That's the really sad point to this. On top of no suspects in custody that we know of, no arrests. And then, it seems like a stalled investigation. We're so far away from a trial potentially. It's sad. It's sad for the family. It's sad for Nancy, because you really got to question, is justice going to be able to be served in this case? We don't know.
I agree with you, Renee. Isn't it odd that there was an Uber, Karen?
I want to make a comment about the Uber. You guys, thank goodness there was an Uber. What if there wasn't an Uber? Now we're still relying on family statement without any documented evidence of what time she went over there. And I have to say, I've been saying this, so I'm going to use myself as an example. My 86-year-old mom doesn't drive anymore. She can't. And I have family who does live close to her, and she has drivers. She pays people to drive. Now she knows some of them, but when they're not available, every once in a while she'll have to call an Uber. Now, has she taken an Uber to my sister's house for dinner? I don't think so. It's more like grocery store or a medical appointment. But in this case, I'm going to say it sounds really cold and harsh that she would have to take an Uber, but I can see it happening, especially if the family's cooking or preparing a meal, and it's 20 minutes each way to go pick up grandma to bring her, mom to bring her over there. But I got to tell you, thank goodness, because to me, the Uber driver is the timestamp that we can hang our hats on. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. But you're right. I mean, it's like, is this a pattern of life? Is this a habit? That on Saturday nights for dinner, we're going to call the Uber mom. And who ordered the Uber? What phone is the Uber ride on? Who got the receipt?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would think it would have to be Nancy, because that's how you pay for it. So it would have to be Nancy would have to download the app the Uber app connected to her bank account. Because think about it, if it was a family member's bank account, I think the person, because with the tracking, you see when the Uber is a minute out, 2 minutes out, arriving, you get in. So that app, again, because it's tied to your bank account or credit card or however you're doing it for payment, that's why I think it would be Nancy's. I could be wrong. I'm no expert on this, but that's my gut.
Okay, so then I'm going to throw a curveball. Ready?
Okay.
Is she waiting on the porch?
What if she's waiting just on the other side of the porch in the house?
Okay. If she's in the house now, she has to go through the front. Let's use the front exit. She's got that big, door, whatever kind of wood that thing is.
Heavy door.
Now she's got
security
the
door.
Security door, right? Okay. Does she go when the Uber pulls up? Let's say the Uber pulls up. Does she use the garage? Does she click the garage?
She could have given instructions. I'm going to kind of push back a little bit. The Uber driver could have been instructed, come straight up the drive to the garage. Don't go on it's not really a portico, but don't go to the front door, come to the garage.
Okay.
So she may have had that Uber close to the garage, or maybe, pulled up, but maybe behind her car. So it's a shorter walk.
Okay. So
hypothetically, we don't know.
Got it. So the Uber pulls up. She comes out. The garage is up. What time did that garage close?
Great question. Missing data point.
Again.
We're not told.
And that means she has the app to close the garage.
Or she's carrying the clicker like my mom carries.
Or she carries the clicker. Okay. But either way, there's a data point missing.
Yeah, there's a lot missing, but that's one of them.
So now she goes and she gets into the car, and the Uber driver takes her over to 4 miles to the house for dinner. All right. And so here's something that people aren't thinking about. She's wearing that Apple Watch. They know every movement. They know while she's alive with that Apple Watch, they're watching or they're pulling out just like anybody else. They're looking at her activity apps behind the scenes of her getting into the car, movement, the location applications, moving from point A to point Z, okay, getting out of the car. Okay, remember, and her phone, Remember, every time she tips her phone, remember in Alex Murdoch when he threw Maggie's phone out the window? Remember we went to that spot where he threw it in South Carolina? Okay. And remember the cast guy testified that the phone had to land like this. Okay. It had to land, or it was when it was tilted. Every movement that I'm making with my phone right now is being recorded as a data point. Every move right here. Well, if she has her phone, which she has to because she has the Uber app, or somebody has the Uber app, okay? But it has to sync up when the Uber driver shows up. So I'm assuming she has the Uber app on her phone. Okay.
Now, here's a question. We know Wi-Fi is terrible at her house. Could it have not fully recorded when she got picked up?
You don't need it. It's satellite.
Good answer.
It's
Okay.
all, right?
Yeah.
It's all
I
satellite.
knew that. Okay.
So now they have all of that data that's lining up.
So they can verify stories.
And
right?
they have the data of when she left the dinner party and got into the car. Okay. We don't know if there's gaps in that data. One of the most interesting comments the sheriff made when one of the press conferences,
There were only two.
right, the one with the FBI agent,
Okay.
where a reporter asked him something about, well, did they, how did they do this? How did they, and he answered, we're going with the family. Do you remember the context of that conversation? Anybody remember
Yes.
the context of that conversation?
He was asked about the timeline and about who dropped off Nancy that evening. He gave three different answers. He first said the daughter, then he said the family, and then he said, or maybe four, Annie and Tommaso, and then we heard Tommaso.
Okay.
So the questions were being asked, which is it?
That's a huge red flag for any investigation. And,
Why?
and here's the reason why. Those types of details are right away, okay, are so critical to a truthful timeline. A perpetrator typically is going to lie within the first, opportunity they get. And then they start to adapt to the conversation or to the story that they start to tell. Okay. Give you an example. I thought I'd see her in the resurrection. Don Wells. What? Wait a minute.
That's the Summer Wells case you're referencing. The unsolved.
You're
Summer
talking about
Wells
your
case.
5-year-old daughter? Okay. And then the next interview. Well, I guess I made a mistake saying that. Okay. No, that was his state of mind. Okay. And that's what they call leakage. That's what he was thinking. And he kind of just said it. And so any kind of critical information like this of what did they say, and the sheriff is now doing the curly shuffle and dancing around it at a press conference where he's going, well, and you heard him say, well, I'm not used to being asked these types of questions. Remember that part of it too, or something to that effect? You guys remember that?
He said something like, I'm not used to everybody hanging on my every word.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a reason for that, right?
Unreal.
There's a reason for that, guys. Okay.
I'm not used to telling the truth. I guess I'm used to just making it up as I go along. What other conclusion do you reach by somebody making that statement?
Right. And so you reverse, right? We just keep backing that car up into the driveway. Okay. And you go, well, okay, well, let's just talk about the simplicity, the simplistic aspect of the Uber. Okay. You know, you ordered your mom an Uber? No, she ordered it herself. I'm role playing. Okay. Do you have her phone? No, it was left back at the house. Didn't you see it? Oh, that's right. It's back at the house. Okay. Yeah, we'll collect that. We'll go get it. What time did she get here? Do you know? I don't know. No, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out because we'll download her phone. Okay. What time did you leave to drive her home? Oh, it's about a 5-minute drive. Okay, so what time? Yada, yada, whatever that answer is going to be. Whatever that answer is going to be. We know at 9:50 was the last time anybody on this earth outside of the suspect that saw Nancy Guthrie alive. And who was the last person to see her alive? And who is not telling us what that feels like? To see my mother-in-law alive for the very last time. I want to go get the other person.
The thug.
I want to help. I want to pass out flyers. I want to get in the community.
I want to lead the search efforts.
I want these guys captured. I want to do all that I can do for my sister-in-law who's in New York City, and she can't do it herself. My sister and I are going to do that. My wife, her sister, and we're going to get them. In fact, I'll help you. I'll help. I can organize a bunch of people. I can bring years of experience to the table, and we'll help you do just that. I won't even ask for the reward if we catch them. That's, I think, what the public wants to hear. I think the public wants to hear that, yeah, from Nanos, here's additional pictures. Please help us catch this person. Or did they get the pictures and go, holy crap? What are we going to do now? Okay.
I don't think there's you're talking about still photos?
Yeah. Are there more? I want to see the suspect bringing her out the front. We don't need to see the
Gory
crime
details.
Yeah, we don't need to see all of that. You can blur that all out, but I want to see Miss Guthrie being, kidnapped.
If they have it.
If they have it.
They've been cagey on whether or not they actually have that. Remember, they said a couple of weeks ago, it's been a number of weeks ago, they said they have video of Nancy, correct? Now, these are from the cameras in the back of the house, facing the swimming pool and the cabana, right?
Yep.
So help me recall what they had. They said they have video of people, coming and going, people who would normally be at the house. This is prior to the abduction, right?
Yep.
But they were real cagey on whether they had video in the backyard of the night this happened, anything similar to what we have in the front with Porch Guy. Am I wrong?
Nope, you're correct. And what we have is a person is seen from the sheriff. Remember in the press conference? A person is seen.
Right.
Okay, is it a dark shadow? I mean, how do you know it's a person? How do you know it's not a coyote? Blah, 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 right? That was so vague. It was like, this guy's just begging for, people online and people around the world, to say, what the heck? What do you mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Is it the suspect that's seen on the video that you can see? And if so, okay, that's fine. Just say, look, there's a person of interest we believe is the suspect. You can see him barely on the video, but we're not going to release that to the public right now. That's how you answer the question.
Exactly.
It's not rocket science. Okay. You don't go, and there was a person seen. Remember how he did all that stupid, all those gestures? I was like, who is this guy? Okay. Out of curiosity.
Wait, that would be the actor of the year for
Yeah.
senior year of high school, actually, which is what we found out.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly
The
right.
award goes to,
Yeah.
you know,
you
the
can't make this stuff up.
1965 Best Actor Award
You can't
in
make
high
it up.
school. Unreal.
You can't make it up. And so, out of curiosity, do you know what happens life insurance and inheritance to pay out if someone goes missing or is kidnapped? Yes, you have to show the insurance company that they're no longer with us. There is
Like a
no
death certificate.
no proof of life, and you have to go to the court, like Dale Warner tried to most recently.
In the D. Warner case,
And
where he killed,
He
he got convicted of killing his wife.
most recently, he was just convicted, and Billy put together an entire case for just that. Got another law firm involved, and we handed it to Michigan State Police, and we said, "Look, don't let him get away with this." And they did, and thank goodness, Greg, her brother, had the chutzpah to take him on, and now he was just convicted of her murder.
But in that case, in the D. Warner case, it took a number of years to legally declare her dead, to get the death certificate. Right, Chris?
Right.
And then they actually were waiting for that in connection and adjacent to the homicide investigation.
Yep, two
So-
parallel tracks.
Yeah.
And we said on this channel, you heard it, the next move will be the house will be sold. The next move. And that will be problematic. The question is which one? The question is which one will be moved? The math is not mathing. They've been over there a couple of times. The family's been in there. They're starting to take boxes out. They're starting to do things. And she's still missing. Presumed deceased. There's a presumption that she's not with us. But then you get a Bitcoin letter today that says, I saw her in Mexico and she's still with us. And now you got to go, well, wait a minute. What the heck does this mean? Is it noise? Is it garbage? And then you've got Savannah going, well, I believe the first two were true. Okay. Well, did law enforcement tell us they were true, or did the family tell us they were true? I want to hear LE. I want to hear somebody from the FBI come out and say, we believe the first two letters were from a legitimate suspect. And that's who we're looking at. Because they nailed that guy quickly in Hawthorne. Again, don't forget that piece of this puzzle again.
Right. The communication was a different route. It wasn't on one of these email forms on a TMZ website. It was direct to Annie and Tommaso on their phones. So that was traceable, obviously.
Which, does anybody else think that was weird? That of all the family members to pick the daughter, the sister and her husband, who's not even on anybody's radar in this case. When that guy was arrested, does anybody think that he knew that he just did a Google search of who is Annie Guthrie's husband? Why didn't he do who's Cameron's wife?
I think if it came just to one of Nancy's children and not a spouse, it would be a little more believable.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Because, just think of how the suspect wrote that off, the fraudster. Yeah, I just Googled their names. Okay, well, how did you know his name? It's not the same as his wife's. How did you get his name? How did you get Tommaso, whatever the guy's name is? How did you get that name?
Yeah, it's not Guthrie.
It's not Guthrie. How did you get his last name? How did you do that? Are you a psychic? Okay. Well, I just did an open, intelligence search, and I did it. Okay, fine. Let's start there. Let's work our way through that. All right. And then you get to this other side of this conversation is, okay, now you got allegedly his phone number, which he did. They got both of their phone numbers. Okay. Why didn't you text Savannah? She's the one talking for the family.
Her number's a little harder to get.
Well, but you can know this. You know who the husband is. You can get his name. You can't get the Savannah's number. You can get Savannah's number. It's not hard. People search, all this other stuff. You can find it. It's not rocket science, right? You could get Annie. You got Annie's number. Okay, fine. So you would send them a text message, and then you ask them the question.
Was that before or after the 9-second phone call?
That was before. The text messages came in before, and then a 9-second phone call to, quote, a family member. Nobody knows who that family member is at this point. I don't know.
It's the only direct communication between an alleged ransom seeker and the family. Everything else has come through TV stations and TMZ.
Correct.
It's interesting.
And they nailed this guy like instantly.
Yep.
Instantly. And what was interesting is they made an example out of him at the press conference.
Right.
We want to show you we're making progress in this case. Okay, cue the photo. Here he is in Hawthorne, California, Mr. So-and-so, such and such, and we've arrested him for a federal crime, and we're going to arraign him in Tucson. We're not going to leave him in California. We're going to bring him to Arizona. The federal government's going to get the U.S. Marshals to bring this guy to Arizona. They're going to throw him in a van. That's probably what they did. And they drove him to Arizona. And they arraigned him in Tucson. All right. Now, who's to say they're not behind the scenes going, all right, well, here's the deal. Let me tell you what's going to happen. And I'll talk to the U.S. attorney about it. We don't know if that guy's cooperating with the federal government or not on this case. And that could also be another burr in the saddle of the sheriff.
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, they could be making a deal with him.
If he has knowledge of where Nancy is.
Yeah. I mean, the first question or the bigger question is always going to be, why did you throw yourself in the middle of the Lindbergh kidnapping here? The case that's getting worldwide attention. Why are you in the middle of this, dude? Are you really that, a simpleton? What's going on here? I don't know. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's nothing to it. I just think there's something there, whatever that means. It doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, doesn't smell right. So it's kind of like the bag of poop on the porch on fire. Don't stomp on it. Wait till it burns, and then you can see, you know what, that looks like crap. This feels like that for me. Okay? Because then I would be going back to the last person that saw her at 9:50 and saying, how did he get your number? Do we know if that conversation's taken place? I hope it did. Okay. If it didn't, you good and homicide investigators need to get back out there and do another interview.
Which was my point from a couple days ago. How detailed of interviewing was done with family members individually about the whole case, every aspect of it.
Right.
It's a question.
Yeah, it's a solid question. Just out of curiosity, do you know this guy? You ever met him? You ever run in circles? You got his number? Can I see your phone? You know what? We'll just download your phone. We'll just make sure. Okay. We'll send the guys over from the ICAC team with the UFED, which nothing to see here, according to the sheriff. These guys that wear the patch that says Internet Crimes Against Children. Okay. And the guy's a teacher. I don't know. Maybe that's, those are the only two guys available with a UFED that day. Okay. And they went in and they downloaded his phone or whatever, all the phones. And they have all that data now that they're operating off of. Some other dude, right? Sod. We don't know. Okay. But you just keep adding, one, okay, last person to see, plus one who ordered the Uber, plus one, we didn't see, how any of the stuff on the porch, the doors were propped open. Okay. Two, and you just start doing the math and you start realizing, okay, well, I got to get these guys off the plate, man. I got to get these guys out of the circle. I 100% have to get them off of the plate. 1,000%. And that's an investigator's job to find all of that exculpatory evidence and have an answer for it. Have an answer for it. Because guess what will happen if they don't do that? Let's go with it is, porch man and whoever porch man is. It's going to be somebody associated that's had a cross into that home. I've said that a million times. I'm going to keep saying it. Whoever, it's the painter, the HVAC guy, whatever, the stucco guy,
the pool
whatever,
guy,
the pool guy,
whoever.
The lawn guy, whatever, the repair guy, whatever. Okay. The guys living in the back of the house who now are from Iran, I guess, the Iranian guys, whoever it's going to be, had an association with that house. Okay. Guess what their defense is going to be? I didn't do it. Who did? The brother-in-law. And guess, the Allah and,
Allegedly. Reportedly.
Yeah, reportedly. But that will be the defense. Okay. Look what just happened in Tyler Robinson. We just did a whole show on it yesterday. Well, the fragment, it's a conspiracy. It's a second, his microphone exploded and it's a second gun and behind him, it's the security guys doing hand signals. Okay. It's not Tyler Robinson using his grandfather's weapon up on top of a roof and his parents turning him in with his boyfriend texting each other. That's not it, folks. Okay. Just believe Candace Owens. She knows exactly what she's talking about. You don't think this thing is going to turn into a circus when they get this guy into custody? It's going to be popcorn and, just turn on the lights because we're going to stream this trial. If the court lets us,
I hope we get to an arrest.
Well, I think they'll get there with some of the problems with some of the digital, but they can't rely too much on digital. This case will be solved by interviews.
You've said this from the beginning. I want you to make this point and make it really clear what you're talking about.
What I mean by that is you have to take all of the digital stuff and set it aside and go back and keep going back and interviewing. I hate to say it.
And re-interviewing.
Tommaso. You have to interview all his circle of influence. You have to interview Annie over and over again. until everything lines up. 1,000%. If there's any gaps with inside of that, a good defense investigator will do it for you, for their client. They will do it for you. Okay? And the prosecution never wants to be in that situation, ever. So that's why you depend on the investigators to do their job. Chris Karen, do you know what his record is since 84? Did the leopard lose his spots? Yes, Beacon of Hope. We actually did a whole show on it, and we showed his record. So it's in the playlist. And yeah, it's horrible.
So he was fired in 1982. They were going to prosecute, but they let him leave the El Paso Police Department. And then it was in, I believe, 84 when he showed up in Tucson. First working for Tucson Police Department. Then he came into the Pima County Sheriff's Department as a correctional officer assigned to the jail. Right, Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the journalist over here, she's FOIA'd everything. How many calls have you? I mean, you just got an email a couple of days ago about interviewing the sheriff again.
Yeah, he turned us down
Again.
Again.
Karen's
but
a
we'll
bulldog.
keep at it. We'll keep asking.
She's dangerous. You never wanted to see your story above the fold.
Well, and by the way, the local media, if this case is going to remain in the media, it falls on the shoulders of the local press. The local news stations need to stay on top of the sheriff and the PIO department and continue to press them every single day with their questions and continuing to ask for updates and continue to ask for sit-down interviews with the sheriff. People, we can do it from afar, but it loses its impact because this sheriff responds to local people, obviously, his electorate. So it falls on the shoulders of all the local media. Keep at it. Keep pressing him. And when I say local media, if you're in Phoenix, that's local enough. When you're outside of the area, it's too easy for the sheriff to blow off interview requests with everybody up and down, you know? So again, it's on the shoulders of local media. They have to keep at it and they have to just be relentless, polite, professional, but relentless, and not let the sheriff, he shouldn't go more than a day or two without getting interview requests and long lists of questions coming in from reporters through his PIO office.
And not softball questions.
No.
You've got to interview the
stuff.
guy. You got to interview the guy.
Timeline questions.
And the reason you have to interview the guy is because Nancy deserves it.
That's right.
Nancy Guthrie is worth the hard questions. And I hate to say it, even if it means you have to ask hard questions with those who know the most about her. There is no favoritism when it comes to somebody being deceased in any way, shape, or form. And it's just not, well, the family's being cooperative. Well, cooperation
does not mean
exoneration.
Yeah, for real.
Just because somebody's cooperating doesn't mean they're exonerated. Just always remember the judge in the Ted Bundy case when he leans over and he goes, Mr. Bundy, and this was in Utah, Mr. Bundy, you would have been one heck of an attorney. And I would have loved to have you practice law in my courtroom. But you went another way.
I never understood why he didn't throw was way harsher on him and not compliment him, because he took that to prison with him.
Well, and that's right. No? Isn't that that's the whole point? It's like, okay, so what time did you get there in the morning? Well, 11. Okay. Well, 11:56. Okay. Well, that's 56 minutes. Can you explain that for me? How you got that wrong? This is how this is what needs to be done. if it hasn't already been done. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not confident that the individuals there would have known what direction to go. And then it would have been, it would start off with, okay, so what time did you leave the house? I don't know, maybe 5 minutes before. Okay, and you drove over? Yeah. Okay, where'd you park? All right. Then what did you do? Well, we were scared because we got the call, from the church and mom's not there. Okay, did you see anything out of the ordinary when you got there? No. How'd you get in the house? Well, we went around the back. Why didn't you use the garage? You used the garage last night with your mom. Well, blah, 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 whatever it is. And this is how this case will be solved. And it will be those inconsistencies that will all of a sudden, remember we talked about it where we look at a big puzzle, okay? In a homicide scene, just think of the person's life as a gigantic puzzle. And the suspect comes in and the puzzle's on the table and they lift the table and they tip it upside down and they throw it all over the floor. And then they run. An investigator's job is to come in and not try to put the puzzle together from the inside of the puzzle out, but rather from the corners in. And you build the frame. And then the rest of the picture starts to make sense. Okay? But if you're missing pieces of the corners and the frame in of itself, and you can't critically think outside of the box, like, okay, so let me get this right. When you got there, you saw flower pots holding what doors open? Well, the back doors. Okay, which ones? Minutia details. Okay. I don't remember. Okay, why not? Why would you not remember that detail? Help me understand that. Well, it was the back doors. They were both propped open. All right. What were you thinking when you saw that? Well, and the list just goes on. It just goes on and on and on. Okay. And then at some point you got into your mother's room and what happened? What did you see? Silence. And you just let them talk. And you just work through the problem. You say, okay, then you came out. Well, you remember, because the sheriff says, well, they kind of came out and they started looking around and it took a little while. Remember that was
that was day one. We got to play those again.
Yeah, we'll play them again. But you see, that doesn't sound right because that's probably what they told initially the first responding officers.
But everything has this dual, not dual meaning, but were the initial deputies told something that didn't add up? Or is this sheriff goofball stumbling and mumbling on his own at the press conference? So it's very hard to get a clear picture here, right? Because if the sheriff is changing his mind, changing the story, changing essentially the facts, were the facts told correctly is my first question. So is it the messenger, the sheriff, messing this up? Or were there huge holes in what was being told and reported day one, hour one? It's a little hard to figure that out, to suss that out. And that's, people called it, the sheriff's style or whatever. That's not style. That's incompetence.
Well, and here's the good news. It's probably all on body camera.
Yeah, for the investigators.
Right.
Right. I'm saying conveying it to us, the public.
Yep.
We had to go through this clown show. And we're like, well, wait, what are the facts? Why is the clown delivering the facts to the people? We demand more.
Because he was in the car.
That was easy.
That was the easy button.
That was easy. Yeah, that's the
You got to
point.
get the clown button.
Oh, the clown button.
I thought that's what you were going to hit.
Hang on. There
Chris
you go.
is a little late with the
clown button. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. It's like, he should have never done that unless he was prepared to come out and tell whatever factually, whatever it is. Okay. Because had he done that, Chris, you're not wrong. Exactly. Oh, trust me. I love this girl more than anything on this earth. She has kept me in line so many times. Okay. But that said, okay.
That was easy.
There you go.
Should
All
all right,
I'm
should we
done.
take a few more questions?
Yeah, let's keep moving.
Okay. You guys are asking some incredible questions.
Amazing questions.
Thought-provoking, insightful. We're loving this.
Okay. So this question here, isn't it odd that both Luke and Carlos did an interview after they had their home search, but still not a word? Yeah, absolutely.
That is a great point,
Good point.
Arizona man. That is a phenomenal point.
And that's what we're talking about. It's exactly the concept.
It's like it's obvious and it's right in front of us. So why can't we talk about it?
Was way over Candace more than a year ago. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Micah.
exactly.
Lots of people agree.
Chris, that was a very cognitive point just now on the behavior, the
Son-in-law.
son-in-law behavior. That could have been,
That should have, but never happened.
yeah,
Meaning the questioning, right?
right.
Santi? Yeah.
Yeah, you've got.
That's why
Go ahead, huh?
no, that's why I've been asking the question lately. How thorough has each family member been questioned? That's what I want to know. Yes, we agree, Laura. Thank you so much.
Laura's the best.
She's awesome.
Don't we have the greatest mods?
We have the
Everybody.
best mods on YouTube.
We do.
We're just going to say that.
And the best chat people and the best viewers.
Thomas says, I would never let my 84-year-old mom take an Uber. I'd pick her up and bring her home and make sure she's safely inside before I leave. It's a valid point. It's a very valid point. But we're told by Savannah that her sister and brother-in-law have taken the best care of her mom. Right?
Don't claim reward if your family here illegally. You know what? I think they would probably claim it because there is what they call a parole process that if they came forward with information about the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie, then what ends up happening is the reason I know this is because I've had many illegal aliens in trees. I had a guy one night in a tree. He was on a platform, and I had a homicide case where the guy was shot right below him under the tree, and the suspect didn't look up and see the big 4x8 sheet of plywood up there with this guy sleeping. And when I got on the scene, the patrol guys had him in the car, and I said, where's my witness? And he goes, and he points. I got an interpreter, and I said, hey, dude, what did you see? And he tells me the whole story. Well, at that point, you have to take this individual down to the federal building, and back where I work down in San Diego, you have to take them to the federal building. You have to go before a federal judge and say, Your Honor, this guy was an eyewitness to a homicide. I need this guy for trial. And the judge says, okay. And there's a whole process. He's given an attorney and all this other stuff, right? You put your hand up, and then the judge says, okay, detective, you are now babysitting this guy until the trial. So every 3 or 4 weeks, the guy would have to call and say, okay, this is where I'm at now. And they give him all this paperwork that says, hey, I'm being held by the federal government as a material witness in a homicide. So that's what they call, they parole him to you. Okay. So if somebody wanted $1.2 million and they're here, this is another lie that the media puts out there to the public, that all these people won't come forward. Yes, they will. They're very cooperative. Some of the best witnesses I ever had were not, U.S. citizens in this country.
So bottom line, no matter who comes forward with the information necessary, regardless of their status, they would get the money.
Correct.
That seems only fair.
It's like
Common
winning the
sense.
lottery.
Yeah.
You know, guy just got $52 billion. You know, where are you from? Bangladesh. Yikes. Okay. Awesome. How do we know what the family did at the house Sunday morning before the police got there? I think the Uber ride was an alibi. Donna, that is a great point. We don't know. And that's one of the things that would be.
Oh, so you're saying, Donna, the Uber was done on purpose to set a record. You're saying there's some premeditation here with this.
I think that's
I'm
what
understanding
she's
what she's saying. Okay.
Yeah, but Nancy would have had to get into that Uber,
Which we know she did. It's
So-
documented.
but it could have also been part of the play.
Part
is
of the
what
plan,
she's saying.
a plan, a
Yep.
potential plan. Why no search? Libby says, why no search then or now? I know we've been saying this. As a bereaved parent, my son was missing for half an hour before being found. Oh, thank goodness. I never would have stopped looking for him. Doesn't look right, as Chris says. We have been, and a number of people have been asking, why no searches? I think, though, again, local media, we need to renew this effort of asking the hard questions of, okay, not why did you choose to stop searching 64 days ago, but why aren't you doing it now? It's never too late to look for the remains of a loved one, period. I know it's desert terrain. I know it's brutal. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of sophisticated technology that can be used. We've seen some of it already. And why not try? Why are we not trying? That's a very valid
Even Andy
question.
For Suzanne Morphew, he went to Colorado
Yes, and that was like
for
in the
his
fall.
sister.
His sister went missing on Mother's Day, so that was a number of months later, and he organized a search effort.
Yeah.
Because he knew she was out there somewhere.
And there's a lot of volunteer search organizations that will come in free of charge.
Yeah, like the Cajun Navy.
Yep.
That, Sheriff Nanos wouldn't even talk to.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Sun T says, I've ordered Uber for my phone when family was stuck somewhere. Less protected method to have grandma get Uber. I never allow it for that 10-minute drive. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Yeah. Thank you for that.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Crypto Plumber says, thanks for being back with us. While the pacemaker is connected to the Apple app, wouldn't it record all heart activity spikes, including stress from an injury?
It would.
Yeah, it definitely would.
And when the heart stops,
The
you'll
pace-
know it because it won't record any more heart activity.
But the pacemaker continues.
The pacemaker will continue,
Yeah.
but the app will stop recording the heartbeats.
Has anyone spoke about her hearing aids? Was she wearing them when she vanished? We were told no, that her hearing aids were not in because, as we know, Savannah said she was taken from her bed in the middle of the night wearing her pajamas and no shoes on. And I believe they were back in her home.
Yeah, the Cajun Navy, there's a bunch of guys in there that are former military, former LE, just folks that know what they're doing. Why not give it a chance? Let them do their thing. It doesn't cost you anything. And I thought that was a mistake too, post-incident. I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, I'll read that. What could be the reason they still have not released the 911 call when Nancy was first reported missing? Also, any videos of Nancy at Annie's driveway? Any video showing her going home? Still suspicious. No, a lot of us have the public records requests into Pima County for that 911 call. They are not releasing it. And I hate to say it, it's not uncommon for an ongoing investigation not to release the 911 call. Although that being said, I can think of a number of 911 calls that we've heard. Didn't we hear that in Summer Wells's case as well?
Well, somebody got it. Yeah.
So we're working on it, but so far, Sheriff Nanos has not released it.
Somebody's going to get it. A guy like Brian Enton with News Nation's Juice and their attorneys, somebody's going to push the button at some point and say, you know what, you've given us nothing. So therefore, we're going to start using FOIAs and we're going to start using our lawyers.
Yeah, we need that. We absolutely need that.
That needs to happen.
Investigate into Luke Daly's car that he crashed. It's similar to one about the lady hanging out and screaming at the time of Nancy's disappearance.
Yeah, and they gave that car back to him already. But you're right. In my opinion, he's still on the table. I wouldn't take him out of the play just yet. He's lawyered up, but it's still, they had some reasons to go down that lane as well. Great point.
Law Lassie says Nanos apparently had no training on how defense attorneys challenge tainted evidence to bar it from admission at trial without the evidence.
Yeah. And Law Lassie, it sounds like you're in that game. So I'm sure he's about ready to go to school.
He's going to be finding out. James says, wow, Chris, Karen is beautiful and smart.
Yes.
Thank you. You are a very lucky guy. Love your channel, from Nola.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you're right. I married so far up, I can't even see straight sometimes. And
Nola's New Orleans, if you're wondering.
Yeah. I did a class down there years ago in Lake Charles. You had some guy who was throwing some people to alligators down there. And we helped him through the Cold Case Foundation work on some of those cases.
New Jersey Elaine, good to see you tonight. Knowing Nanos' shady past, could he possibly have some involvement with a cover-up of some sort? Just a thought.
I'm not going to lean that way with him, even though he's, got his own challenges. But I don't see him involved in this in any way, shape, or form at all. But I also see, though, that his incompetence has not helped the totality of this, which would lean to that kind of question.
Yeah. Cher asks, who was at the Saturday night dinner?
Great question.
Great question. We haven't even heard the full guest list, have we?
No. And you know what else we haven't heard? We haven't heard from the church people, a re-interview, a phone call.
Church ladies.
We got to get hold of the church lady and say, hey, did you call them back and ask if they found Nancy? What did they say? That's another thing the investigators should do if you haven't done it. Remember, they get the phone call and you may get the phone records that say, yep, phone call was made. Well, now pick up the phone and call the person, the RP, the reporting party, and say, hey, what did you guys talk about? Not telling you how to do it, but giving you some suggestions.
Comert says maybe it was the perp who got into the garage at 9:48 to 9:50 p.m. and not Nancy.
It's possible. It's possible. But then that again goes up against the brother-in-law or the son-in-law, because they got a data point and he says, yep, I watched her go in the house. And we have two stories there, one from the sheriff. Actually, they're both from the sheriff, but here's the one I've been asking is what's their pattern of life? And do they go through the garage? And do they have an app? And we did a whole show on this multiple times. Do they have the garage app, like the Q app, on their phones? Does Annie have it? Does Tommaso have it on his phone? Can he open that garage from anywhere in the world on that app? Because it's capable of doing that through the internet. Is that a possibility? The answer is yes. It's a possibility. Do we know it? He did it? We don't know. We don't know that answer.
We already did that question. Thank you, Hazel Eyes,
Thank you
for that one. Becky says family dynamics, undertrained cops. Oh, undertrained cops.
Yep.
Yeah. Did Annie and Tom do any searching? Why didn't they?
Not,
Mary, that's a great question. Savannah hasn't talked about searching either. And same with her brother, Cameron.
uh,
Love.
I know, right?
I'll read this one. Love the two of you. Thank you so much. Interesting conversation tonight. Keep asking the hard questions. Wish Chris was on the case and Karen the PIO.
Yeah.
I know. I wish Chris was on the case too. Believe you me.
And I'm actually working 2 other cases right now.
Concurrently.
Yeah.
I think even more than that.
Actually 4.
Yeah, a little more than that.
And for those of you that know, you know now, I worked on the Michael Vaughn case for about 4 months with the police department. And I got burned in the prelim when they showed video of me sitting there during the interview with Stacey Wandrup. And
one of the 4 suspects or
and,
perps, we should say.
And so anyway, so I still do this full time, not only with the Cold Case Foundation, but I work with, some other things behind the scenes, working with families and other things. So
we already did that one.
Yep, did that one. So go here.
Thank you, Nina. We appreciate your support.
Very much.
And thank you, Mimi.
And by the way, Pima County has about 200 cold cases.
Is it 200 or 400?
No, that's Tucson. Tucson's gone from 300 to 400.
Okay, there's a jurisdictional difference there.
Right.
I don't want to mess it up. Safe. How do you pronounce that? Safri Reyes. Okay. How do you find out who was the 84-year-old woman who was airlifted to the hospital? I wonder if that was Nancy. I think at the time the reporting was it was not her. That was early on in the case. We remember that.
Yeah,
so
and
it wasn't Nancy. We don't know who it was.
And HIPAA would prevent us from getting that information.
Yeah, it's always brutal trying to get info from a hospital. Ronnie Ann says, 84-year-old women are not usually up that late. Karen, is your mom up that late? Uber ride, I think, was deliberate. Are you aware T teaches AP biology and his lesson plans include CSI? Very interesting. Yeah, we heard that. My mom, if my mom is going over to my sister's house, my mom sometimes, it's usually once a week. She is sometimes up till 9:30 or 10, brought home. Sometimes she doesn't even go to sleep till 11. So she's not really a night owl, but, I think if you want to spend time, it's not suspicious to me. If you're spending time with your family and a grandson or grandchild or whatever, and you don't drive, so you're kind of you're reliant upon your family members to take you home if it goes late. For my mom, if it went late, my mom would say, I'm getting really tired. Can you take me home? But I don't think 9:30 is actually late. This was a celebratory birthday. We were told Nancy had turned 84 about 4 days previous. And we were told they had dinner and played games. So I don't think it was too late. But, everyone's different. Some people like to go to bed early. Some people are more night owls. My mom is 95 and can be up until 11. Yep, Annie. My mom, same.
And how often do you check in with your mom, Bear?
Usually every other day. 3
to your 4. Mom's in Michigan.
3 to 4 times a week. We talk. Yeah.
So, we're 2.5 into this. We really love and appreciate each and every one of you out there. If you're new to our channel, we just ask one thing: please hit the like and subscribe. Share this on your social media channels. That helps us grow, and that's what we're trying to do. If you're going to be again at CrimeCon coming up at the end of May, love to see you there. And we'd love to get to meet you one-on-one in person. What you see is what you get. as you can
Don't hold it against us.
don't hold
Yeah,
it
throw
against
some
us.
disclaimers out there. If you
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And but we'd love to meet you in person, and that's going to be in Vegas. So that said, also we also want to thank our mods for this evening for being here with us again, and our subscribers, our Patreon members, our members here, and our YouTube members. We're grateful to each and every one of you, and we're so thankful that you've been with us for 5 years. We've been doing this for 5 years.
Yep. And we also want to keep Nancy Guthrie in our prayers. We
Yes,
know that she can
first.
get lost in all of this media craziness, but our prayers to her family and those who are missing her, and our prayers actually to the investigators on this case. We pray that they are able to find out who did this and to get some closure for her family.
Yeah, and to our first responders out there, all of you, firefighters, cops, nurses, doctors, all the above, we thank you so much for your service, and for our military folks, everybody, we are grateful for your service and giving us the ability to have freedom. So that allows us to open up our life to you, and thank you for everything that you do. And those of you who are out there who may be suffering in Hawaii, there's some flooding that took place. In Maui, they're still trying to recover. Just around the world, if you're in need of something, please reach out. Just remember that somebody else is out there, and that the greatest exercise we can ever do is try to lift somebody else up. With that, as we like to say, please continue to take care of one another. Be akamai, as they say in Hawaii. Keep your head on a swivel, and we will see you on the next one. And by the way, I got a great program coming up with Vernon Gaber, who wrote the book on homicide, and that will be up this week. So look forward to that. See you on the next one. Bye.
Good night.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a way.